Why breathing correctly boosts energy and reduces stress. I'm going to talk about why it's important to breathe correctly. You see, when we are stressed, we tend to take shallow breaths, right? And so we're not getting enough oxygen to our brain, which causes us to be more stressed. And we also have this other part of the nervous system that gets activated when we're stressed called the sympathetic nervous system, which is also known as the fight or flight response. So let me explain what this means. When you're in a state of stress, there's this run or fight response in your body that happens, and so you're ready to fight off some attacker or run away from some danger, right? Or maybe you're stuck in traffic and you're feeling angry, and you're just clenching your teeth and you're all worked up inside, right? That's the sympathetic nervous system kicking in. It's a survival mechanism. So it's a good thing that this exists. And then there's the other part of the nervous system that's called the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is the rest and digest. So when we're in a state of peace, we're in a state of calm, we're able to relax. This is when the parasympathetic nervous system kicks in. And so what I want to do is teach you how to hack into these two different systems so that you can turn on that relaxation response in your body, because it will help you sleep better. It will allow you to reduce your stress and anxiety, and it will give you more energy. So let's dive into it. Why is it important to breathe correctly? Well, there's two main reasons. The first one has to do with increasing the amount of oxygen that you get to your brain, so that you have more mental clarity, you're able to focus better, you feel more alert, and you're able to get things done. The second reason is to help turn on that parasympathetic nervous system so that you can relax, you can distress, you can reduce your anxiety, and ultimately you'll be able to sleep better. And when you start to understand how to control your breath, it's almost like magic. You can actually put yourself into a state of calmness at will. You know, if you're ever on an airplane, they always tell you to put your mask on first before you help someone else with their mask, right? Because if you don't put your mask on first, you're not going to be able to help somebody else. If you run out of air, you have to take care of yourself first, and by doing that, you're activating that parasympathetic nervous system and you're reducing your stress and your anxiety. And so there's a very simple technique that I've learned over the years that I want to share with you now. It's a very simple technique, but it's very effective. I learned this technique from a guy named Andrew Huberman. He's a professor of medicine at Stanford, and he teaches a lot about the power of the breath. So here's the technique. It's called the 4-7-8 method. And what you do is you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7 seconds, and you breathe out for 8 seconds. So let me just show you how this works right now. Okay, so I'm going to breathe in for 4 seconds. I'm just going to pretend like this is oxygen that's fueling my brain. I'm going to hold it for 7 seconds. Now watch what happens when I breathe out. Okay, 3, 2, 1. So what happens when we do this? We're activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Now another way to think about this is when we breathe in, we're activating the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, and when we breathe out, we're activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest. So when you breathe out, you're releasing all of that tension and stress. You're helping to lower your blood pressure. You're helping to calm your nervous system down. And so what I recommend is that you practice this throughout the day. You know, you can even set a timer on your phone to just remind you to breathe. You could do this while you're working. You could do this while you're studying. You could do this while you're watching TV. You could do this while you're driving in traffic, right? Just really anytime you need to calm yourself down and reduce your stress levels. In fact, there was a study published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine where they had people do something similar to this. They had them breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 15 seconds, and then breathe out for 5 seconds. And they did this for 3 minutes. And what they found was a significant reduction in stress and anxiety. Okay, so now let's talk about the other point I mentioned earlier, which is that when we breathe correctly, we increase the amount of oxygen that's going to get to our brain. And this is important because if you don't get enough oxygen to your brain, you're going to feel foggy, you're going to feel unfocused, you're going to feel tired and fatigued. And when you think about it, it makes sense, right? Your brain is the most metabolically active organ in your body. It uses up a lot of energy, and a big part of that energy is oxygen. So when you're taking deep breaths, you're increasing the amount of oxygen in your lungs, and then it gets diffused into your bloodstream, and then it goes to your heart and it pumps it all throughout your body, including your brain. On the other hand, when you're taking shallow breaths, you're not getting enough oxygen in your lungs, so you're not getting enough oxygen into your bloodstream. So it's not getting pumped to your brain, and you're just gonna feel tired and sluggish and, not really productive. In fact, there was a study published in the Journal of Neurophysiology where they monitored the brain activity of people who were breathing shallow versus deep breaths. And what they found was that the people who were breathing deeply had increased blood flow to the brain, and they also had increased activity in the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that's responsible for decision-making, attention, and social behavior. So the point here is when you're breathing deeply, you're activating this part of your brain that helps you focus and concentrate. And so, one way to make sure that you're getting enough oxygen to your brain is to practice something called box breathing. Box breathing was developed by the Navy SEALs, and it's a very simple breathing technique where you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, and then hold that breath out for 4 seconds. So you're breathing in, holding it, breathing out, holding it. It's kind of like a square, right? You're breathing in. You go one side of the box, hold it. You go to the next side of the box, breathe out, hold it. You go to the next side of the box, breathe out, and then hold it. You go to the last side of the box, and so this is a very simple technique that you can use to make sure that you're getting enough oxygen to your brain to help you focus and concentrate. I would recommend that you use this technique whenever you need to focus, right? Whenever you're working on a project, whenever you're studying, whenever you're trying to get something done, maybe you're giving a presentation, maybe you're interviewing for a job, whatever it is that requires your full attention. This is a great breathing technique to use to help you stay focused. And so when you're doing this technique, you want to make sure that you're breathing through your diaphragm. So you're taking a full breath in, filling up your lungs, and then you're exhaling and letting all the air out. When you start to combine box breathing with that 4-7-8 technique that I taught you earlier, it's going to help you reduce your stress and anxiety, and it's going to help you focus at the same time. And so what I recommend is that you practice both of these techniques so that you can choose which one works best for you depending on the situation that you're in. For example, if you're in a situation where you need to focus, but you also need to reduce your stress, you might want to use the box breathing technique. If you're in a situation where you need to relax and de-stress, but you don't necessarily need to focus, then you might want to use that 4-7-8 technique. But remember, shallow breathing can lead to chest tightness and fatigue, and when you're breathing correctly, you're going to have increased oxygen to your brain, which is going to give you more energy. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button. Also, please subscribe to this channel. I have other videos that I think you'll enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.